Hello everyone, welcome to today's video. Today's video is about how a 15-minute project turned into a 1-month ordeal on this here 2007 club car. We'll start at the very beginning. What started this entire series of unfortunate events was this golf cart we decided wasn't going fast enough. It would only go 16 miles an hour. That's uphill, downhill, everywhere, because the speed sensor on here wouldn't let it go any faster. So we decided to get a speed magnet. So come in a little closer. And this is how we started. I got on eBay, I ordered a speed magnet according to the year of the golf cart, and this is what I got. And when it got here, we were all excited. We're gonna put this in. It comes with your magnet, comes with your sensor. It was going to be a quick, easy install and then cruise out and have some fun. You can see this has screws, holes here, because this is screwed onto the back of the motor. So the first thing I did when I climbed under there is I unscrewed these two screws, which are a flathead screw, thinking that I was going to install this thing. You're going to start by pulling out these flathead screws. So I got to realizing I had the wrong sensor. I should have known that right off, but I didn't even think about it. Here's the thing, is that I have a GE motor in this golf cart, and so you need the GE speed magnet for this golf cart. So when I realized I had the wrong speed magnet for this golf cart, I decided I need to start putting stuff back together. So I went to put the flathead screws back in, and I realized they're not catching anything. What's going on here? So I pulled the back of the motor off, and it's a plate in there that's screwed on the back that holds the bearing in there. And there's no way to get that plate on there without pulling the back of the motor off. So I ended up taking the back of the motor off, and after I got the back of the motor off, trying to figure out how to put that on, I realized I can't put that back on without pulling the bearing off, because it's got to go in the back of the motor, and then that plate goes on top of it. So I had to get a puller, pull the bearing off, and then once I got the bearing off, got that in the back of the motor, I realized I can't get this back together without pulling it off the whole axle, and so I had to pull the motor off the front of the axle up here, so the whole thing was loose. And so I'm holding this motor in my hand, trying to put it back together. I'm kind of wedged under the golf cart here, holding this motor up in the air. I did not pull the cables off of it because I figured I'm not going to pull it all the way out. I should have just pulled it all the way out. That would have been way better. But I just kept working it in there, holding it, kind of pounding it, got a hammer pounding it. But I'm down there holding the motor, laying in the ground here, holding that motor up in there. And then all of a sudden, somebody decides, and I'm not going to mention names, but somebody decides to turn this hose on. And so this thing just starts off flopping all over the place like crazy. It's got 160 PSI in this hose, so it seriously goes. When that thing starts flopping, I'm down here just working. I'm already not having a good day. All of a sudden, that hose just starts whipping all over, soaking me. So I dropped the motor, jumped up, grabbed that hose, brought it over there out of the way so that it wasn't spraying me anymore. So the motor on there turned into a big ordeal. I finally got it all put back together, lining it all up, getting the bolts in there. It took me quite a while. Finally got it all put back together. Now the reason I'm stressing on the motor so much is later on in the video, this all plays into something that was the true reason why this thing wasn't working. When I realized I had the wrong magnet, I went ahead and ordered a new one. I searched all over eBay. It was hard to find because there was a lot of magnets on there that say speed magnet, because they're all speed magnets, and then you get down the description, it says does not increase speed. I only found one spot that actually had a magnet that increases the speed, and I'll put a link to that in the description. While I was waiting for my new speed magnet, I had time to adjust my seat. I cut these pieces, weld that on an angle, slid this whole seat back 3 inches so it's far more comfortable. I put solar panels on here while I was waiting. Eventually the new speed magnet got here, so excited for it. That actually started a whole new series of unfortunate events. Now it comes with some pretty good instructions, which is nice, but it is a little bit unclear on some things. It says install flat side of magnet facing the sensor. and it needs to be tapped in lightly until flush. So it's got one side that's flat, and the other side has the metal inner piece sticks out a little bit. It says install flat side of the magnet facing the sensor. So that's what I did. It says carefully tap the new magnet into place using a rubber hammer and a piece of wood or rubber. Do not use metal. So this is what I used, a piece of rubber like this. I actually used hot glue, glued it on there like that so it was on there, and then I put that up in there and tapped my magnet in with this. But in doing so, this rubber is actually soft enough that it pushed the magnet off of the metal centerpiece into the motor, so it's just sitting in there. So I got it all put back together. I did not notice that that magnet came off of the centerpiece, and I went to turn it all on. You know, I turn on my key, turn on my battery, turn everything on, go to push my pedal, and guess what? I've got nothing but a click, and then a little bit of hum from the motor, and then another click. So at this point, it starts rolling through my mind, what could be wrong? Where do I start? Because a lot of things happen. Speed sensor, magnets, pulling the whole motor apart, dropping the motor. Where do I start? I decided to start with the magnet. And so I climb under there, pull this off the back of the motor again, pop, and see that magnet has popped off of that centerpiece and fell inside there. And I'm like, that could be the problem. Obviously that's one of the problems. I was able to get that front piece worked out, magnet out without damaging anything, slid the magnet back onto that centerpiece. And then I got looking at the picture on the instructions, and it shows mostly magnet showing and just that little ring of metal there. And I'm thinking, I might have put this in backwards. So at that point, I decided to flip the magnet around and put it back in there. But when I put it back in there, I did not use the rubber or anything like that because it was just nothing but problem. I took the rubber off there, straight metal, right flat on there, tapped it right in till it was flush. So I got it all put back together. Go ahead and try it. Same thing. Click, zzz, click, still no go. I'm like, what could be the problem? So I start researching on speed magnet sensor to see if that's the problem. So if you've got your golf cart in gear and you start rolling it, you hear that buzzing sound? That's an alarm letting you know your golf cart's moving. So if you're getting that beep, beep, beep when you move your golf cart back and forth, that means your speed sensor is working. And guess what? I was not getting that sound. And so I was like, it's gotta be the sensor. I don't know if it's the magnet or the sensor. So what I did is I ordered a new sensor. I got my new speed sensor. I popped this in, and guess what? Same thing, no change. Click, zzz, click, nothing. So I realized it's probably not the speed sensor. So I started racking my brain back through, and that drop in the motor kept haunting me. After determining it's probably not the speed sensor, I started working my way back. I decided to test the motor. Now to test the motor, this is a CPAX motor. I had to hook F1 and A1 together and F2 and A2 together with a jumper lead across, and then you hook a 12-volt battery to it. You don't want to hook too much power because it's obviously going to take it off real fast. I had it jacked up on jack stands so my tires are freely spinning, and then you hook your positive there and your negative on the other side, or either way, it doesn't matter. And I turned that on. Motor's turning fine. So I was like, motor works. So that's how I ruled out that it was the motor, because after pulling the whole thing apart, you always wonder, did I not put it back together right? I also checked the continuity by touching my voltmeter to the outside there and checking each lead to see if it was crossed out in there, and that all checked out fine. So everything on the motor checked out fine. So I had to move to the next step after that. I do need to point out that when I was testing the motor, I did disconnect all these leads. So you disconnect everything that's on there already, and then just have your jumper leads to test them. So after I got done testing the motor, I decided it's time to check the controller. Here's where the controller is, right there. So I get the cover pulled off, and oh my gosh, look at that. F1 and F2 are unplugged. When I dropped that motor, it yanked those off of the terminals. All that time of trying to figure out what's wrong. This is definitely the video to show you what not to do or learn from somebody else's mistakes. So a few months back, I pulled this controller cover off and took a picture of this controller because I was wondering if I had the right controller to put four-wheel drive on this golf cart. And yes, I do. So that's gonna be sweet. We're gonna be adding that later on. But that picture worked out nice because I had a picture of the wiring, and so I was able to know which wire went where. I mean, I could have climbed up in there further because it is on the controller. It was a lot easier just bring up the old photo. I plugged those two wires in, boom, turn the golf cart on, works. So this whole ordeal taught me a lot about the motor, the speed sensor, and I gotta tell you guys, this is the wisdom I'm gonna pass on to you. So doing the roll test, you got that beeper, it beeps when you're rolling. And also the other thing you can test, if I unplug the sensor, I go into limp mode and the golf cart goes half speed. So that's another sign that your magnet or your sensor is not working. So that was quite the ordeal for sure. There's definitely days when I was like, is it worth it? I should have never touched that magnet. Why did I touch that magnet? But at the end of the day, we got it back together. It worked. Now we're gonna drive it down the road and see what a difference it makes. I've got a nice flat stretch right here we're gonna test it on, and then we're also gonna go up that hill. I've got my GPS on my phone, and we've also got a GPS hooked to the camera to tell us our speed. Here we go. Look at that, 17 miles an hour. Well, that's not great. $18. So 16, 17 miles an hour is the fastest we've ever got it to go. And then it jumped right down to 16 when the regen kicked in. So we've got a little more faster. I might get a little more speed if my battery was all the way charged. But the nice thing about lithium, a 30% battery still good and powerful. Lead acid at 30% would not be fair to test a speed magnet with that. So the speed magnet doesn't help going uphill at all, that's for sure. That's about all this golf cart will do going uphill already. Need a more powerful motor or a different setting on the controller. I do want to get a programmer so I can program my controllers and really test out what the motors are capable of. They like to keep them pretty wimpy for the golf courses so people aren't wrecking everywhere because their golf carts accelerate real fast. So we're going to take it up the top and then we'll turn around and go back down. Here we go, downhill. This is where you're definitely going to feel your speed, because this speed magnet does away with your regen, which is kind of sad because now we're not charging the battery, but I do have enough solar on here, I don't think I care. See, my foot's off the accelerator. We're doing 19 miles an hour. When we drove this before, it would not go over 17 miles an hour going downhill. The regen would kick in and it would slow you down. I got 25, 26. Coasting. I'm gonna hit the accelerator. 28, 29, 30, 31, wow. That does kick the regen in a little bit. Look at that. I got the accelerator smashed down. We're doing 31, 32, and let off that accelerator. Feel that slow us down a little bit, and then it kicks back off and lets us coast. Okay, so here we are on the flat again. Yeah, we're doing 26 on the flat. All right, we're down to 20% battery now. That was pretty fun. So I gotta say, this cart rides so good with this lift kit on here. This has got the SGC lift kit that we put on here, and that was stable, smooth. So I'm getting between 20 and 25 on the flats with this. That's about right, according to what I read on the description of the magnet in speed setting 1. They say if you take it up to speed setting 4, you're supposed to get close to 40 miles an hour with this magnet. I don't have a programmer to program this yet, but one day I will, and we'll see how fast it can go. Overall, I'm trying to decide, am I happy with it? Was it worth the hassle? Because that was a lot of hassle, oh my gosh. But I could do another speed sensor in like 15 minutes, so it was a learning curve. Yeah, I would have to say it's worth it, because this golf cart is going to be driving all over this desert in our adventure videos. The goal is to get this golf cart to drive 100 miles. We're going to add more batteries, get the solar hooked up, and eventually add four-wheel drive on here and probably a bigger motor on the rear end. We just got done putting these headlights in, LED headlights. They're pretty sweet. They're so bright. So I've got an entire playlist of upgrades we're doing to this golf cart. So just click onto that playlist and just follow along. And you'll see it just upgrade and upgrade till eventually it's going to be so great, everybody's going to want it. Thanks so much for watching, and we will catch you all in the next video.